Hey you guys, it's Carolyn. Welcome back to my series on home management, where we're talking about how I manage a productive, busy household for success and to get things done. What I want to talk to you guys about today is the importance of breakfast, of a good quality breakfast. Now, I'm going to tell you right off, I am not a breakfast person. I would very happily just have my cup of coffee and skip breakfast. But as somebody who was an elementary school teacher and now somebody who sees my own children and I teach my own children at home, I see and have seen very clearly the effects of not having a good breakfast. And honestly, I've got to say that I think having no breakfast has got to be better than having a high sugar breakfast like a breakfast cereal that has a lot of sugar in it and artificial ingredients. That just makes people completely unable to concentrate. But here's the thing. I'm not a morning person, naturally. I'm not a breakfast person. So it's very, very hard for me to be consistent, to get up and get a hot breakfast on the table for my family every morning. And I found that the time we hit the table for breakfast makes a difference in the whole rest of our day. I'm going to be talking to you guys next week about making the chores dependent on the food. And you'll see what I mean when I talk about it next week. But it's very important to have breakfast at a predictable time in our house in order to keep the flow of the morning going. Now, I don't work by minute schedule. I try not to be a slave to a clock, but I do try to have an order to the morning and a basic routine. And so we do try to hit the breakfast table with a hot breakfast by 7:30 at the latest right now in this season. But that's really hard for me to do because I'm not a breakfast person. I'm not a morning person. And I'd be happy just to let it all go. And I like having time in the morning to spend a few minutes cuddling with the little people, getting my office work done, my desk work done. And if you watched last week's video, you'll know that I actually have a pretty full schedule first thing in the morning before the kids are even awake. So I like being able to fill my morning with other things besides cooking. So here's my trick. We make breakfast casseroles. We make ahead breakfast casseroles so that all that has to happen in the morning is they have to get slid into the oven and they just have to bake. That's all we do in the morning. We have to pull them out, maybe add a little bit of maple syrup over the top or some light sweetening or some nuts in it or some dried fruit, whatever it is that we're doing. But aside from just a few little quick minutes of optional work, it's incredibly easy to get a hot breakfast at the table. Now, there are tons of different options for make-ahead breakfasts. Usually they're breakfast casseroles. Things that are really common in our house is a pumpkin custard, which would be a healthy pumpkin custard from our homegrown pumpkins. We do baked oatmeals regularly. We do French toast casseroles. Breakfast stratas are amazing. There are just so many different types of breakfasts that you can make ahead of time, get them in the fridge and just slide them into the oven in the morning to bake. The way we do this, and I am going to give you a link down in the description to some of my favorite breakfast recipes for the make-ahead breakfast. These things just make our days run. The way that we manage them is to make sure that the job of making a breakfast casserole is actually on somebody's chore list. So for example, on Monday mornings after our breakfast, Brianna, who is 11, makes 2 or 3 baked oatmeals. She gets them all made up and gets them slid into the fridge in their casserole pans. Yes, I have a lot of casserole pans. I collect them every time I go to a thrift store. And then the next day, Abigail, who is 9, makes about 3 French toast casseroles and slides those into the refrigerator. That way, right there, we have 6 breakfasts ready to go. Now, for our family, it's large, so a lot of times we have to have 1.5 to 2 full casserole pans for breakfast. So we do have other things that we sprinkle through the week. But this is my really good tip to you. If you're not a morning person or if your mornings are hectic, it's so important to get that hot breakfast with protein in it, a good amount of protein, into your morning routine but you don't have to work in the morning to do it. Check out the recipes I have for you below, and take care, you guys.